As an SEO agency, we look at a lot of different websites, but there's 10 common SEO mistakes that constantly come up. So let's talk about them in today's video. The first common SEO mistake that we see is a lot of people have this issue with their images. Now, believe it or not, images actually play a big role in your website's SEO. Now, I'm not just particularly talking about the size of the image or to reduce it so that it fits in perfectly, but what I'm actually talking about here is the file name of your images and the alt tag of your images. Common file names for images on websites, specifically that we're looking at, and we've looked at a lot of different websites, they're usually nonsense. Now, what I mean by that is it might be something such as 6074913.jpg or img_1078.png or something along those lines. That doesn't mean anything to anybody. It doesn't mean anything to a search engine. But believe it or not, Google sees all of this sort of stuff. They actually are looking at this as they go behind the scenes on your website and crawl your website. Now, if those particular images are on a particular page that you're trying to rank for a primary keyword, well, what you should do is you should actually use those keywords for the file name of that image before it's uploaded to your website. And that brings us on to the other image issue, which is alt tag. So the alt tag is what you actually can put there for accessibility reasons on your website, or if the image failed to load for whatever reason. Now, the alt tag should actually describe to people what the image is. It shouldn't just be somewhere to stuff your keywords. However, if you're clever enough, you can find the good balance of describing what the image is, as well as having some important keywords in there also. The next issue that we usually come across is low backlink quality. Now, a website may have thousands and thousands of links pointing to it. However, when we compare it to the competitors who are ranking for lucrative keywords, well, usually it's a case of that the competitors have more relevant and authoritative backlinks pointing to the website. Now, there is several ways of actually obtaining strong and relevant links to your website, and that helps with what's known as your off-page SEO. So Google's not only looking at what's on your own website, but believe it or not, anyone who's mentioned you and links to you, Google actually gets signals from that as well. Now, as I mentioned, when we're doing some research about this for particular different companies, we can actually do some competitor research on the backlinks of competitors who are already ranking. This means that we can see the exact people who are linking to them. And if it's a relevant link, that means more than likely if they've mentioned your competitor and they're an unbiased company, they're more than likely happy to mention you as well. The next issue, and it's a very big issue, falls under technical SEO, and that is not resolving your 404 errors. Basically meaning you have broken links on your website. Now, we did actually do a recent video all about broken links and 404 errors, how they usually come about and how they can be resolved. But the reason we wanted to put it into this video also and include it in this most common SEO problem list is because it is extremely common. We see this all the time with every single website that we look at. In a nutshell, what we'd recommend is doing a crawl of your website every single month to make sure that no broken links have occurred. If broken links have occurred, well, usually it only takes a moment or so to resolve those broken links. The next problem that we usually find is overuse of redirect hops. Now, what the hell is a redirect hop? Well, basically, if you have a website and you were linking to a page that no longer exists, if that's the case and you haven't changed it, it will lead to a 404, like we mentioned a moment ago. But if you've been smart enough and implemented a redirect, that means that when someone clicks that link or when a search engine follows that link, they're not going to go to a dead page. They're going to go to either similar content or content that essentially can replace the older page that no longer exists. However, one thing that we find when people even are smart enough and clever enough to implement their 301 redirects is that in some cases, they can go and do what's known as several hops. So it goes to this page and redirects to this page and then back to this page and so on and so forth. We've also seen a case several times where when someone implements a redirect, they'll actually redirect the website to an insecure version of their website, which is quite odd. However, most websites, especially WordPress websites, are smart enough to automatically register that you're sending someone to an insecure version of your website, and then you'll be redirected to a secure version. However, this then means you have several hops in the chain. So first of all, someone's clicked on a link that you know doesn't exist anymore. You've implemented a 301 redirect, but it's actually after sending them to an insecure version of the website. So then your server and your system, be it WordPress or whatever it may be, then has to redirect them again to the secure version of the page that you wanted to send them to. So just like we mentioned a moment ago that you should crawl your website at least once a month to check for 404s, you can do this also to check for 301 redirects as well. The next common SEO issue that we see a lot is leaving pages set to what's known as no index. Basically, this means that you've gone ahead and you've created a page and you've put a lot of time and effort into it, and it could have a lot of optimization done with different keywords and headings and images and whatever it may be, but the page is set to no index. Now, usually this issue occurs because when someone is creating that page they want on their website to be optimized, they'll set it as no index, and then once the page is fully optimized, then they'll set it to index again. Basically, if you do have a website and a page is set to no index, this means that when search engines such as Google start to crawl your website is essentially saying, don't have a look at this page, don't put it in your search results. And if it's a page that you've spent a lot of time optimizing, you obviously want Google to index it and to show it in search results. So if there is an important page that you spent a lot of time and effort on optimizing, make sure it is set to index for search engines. Now, speaking of indexing, something that we also see as an SEO mistake, and this can be a very, very big mistake, is leaving your staging site as indexable in Google. Now, however, as an SEO agency, this helps us quite a lot because that means if competitors have done that, which we've seen many, many times, we can actually see what your competitors are planning to do on their website, what they're planning to publish before they've actually published it to the public. Now, the reverse of this is also true, meaning that if you have a staging site and you've left it as indexable in Google, or your web development team has, or whoever, that means that your competitors are able to see what you're planning to do, what content you're planning to release, what new products that you are planning to release. They can see all that before your website has been pushed to the public. So if you do have a staging site of your website, I'd highly, highly recommend to make sure that it's set to no index for search engines. Another big issue we see in regards to SEO mistakes people make is trying to rank for a keyword, but not having a page dedicated to that keyword. Now, as an example, we've actually had several different people come to us on consultation calls and say the main number one keyword that we want to rank for is XYZ. Now, when we have a look at the keyword research and the search intent, it actually does make a lot of sense for them to rank for that particular keyword. But they don't know why they're not ranking. So when we ask, okay, what page are you trying to rank for that? It's usually just the website overall. So what we would always recommend is that if there's a particular keyword that you're trying to rank for, then have a dedicated landing page all about that particular keyword. Bear in mind, one of the first things that Google's going to check is when someone does a particular search query, they want to send people to a website that has a page all about that particular search term. Now, if you want to see an example of this, you can actually Google something such as simple as accounting software or, restaurants in Missouri or whatever it may be. And I can guarantee that the majority of the people who show up in the top 10 list, they'll have particular dedicated landing pages for this that might say /accounting software, /software for accountants, whatever it may be. There'll be pages dedicated to that specific keyword. Now, another mistake that we see quite often is that you're not using an SSL certificate, basically meaning that your website is not secure. Now, luckily enough, in most cases, websites are smart enough to automatically redirect somebody to the secure version of your website. However, we were dealing with a well-known restaurant chain recently, and when we were auditing their website, every single link was insecure. Now, when we went back to them and we said this, they said, no, the website's only brand new. It's 2 months old. We just need to optimize it. But I'm 1,000% sure, and this was the digital marketing manager we were speaking to, they said that they were 1,000% sure that the website was very secure. So after a bit of digging, it turns out that they actually had 2 different versions of their website. They had an insecure version of the website, and every single link on that particular version of the website was also insecure, and they had a secure version of their website. So what had happened was, in the likes of their email footer, where it links to their particular website, that was an insecure link. That's the link that we clicked on to audit the website. But that was leading us to insecure link after insecure link after insecure link. They also had quite a few backlinks that were also leading to insecure versions of the website. Their website didn't automatically redirect people to the secure version of their website. So that meant that every time that they themselves were looking at their website in-house, they were obviously seeing a secure version of the website and couldn't find any insecure links. So when we did say this to them, we did advise that their web developers need to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that their website automatically redirects people to a secure version of a website. The next really big issue that we see on websites in regards to SEO mistakes is not actually utilizing your real estate space that you have for your meta information. Now, what I mean by that is your meta title and your meta description, because this is actually what shows up in a Google search result before anyone ever clicks or sees your website. Now, this is extremely important because this is your opportunity to tell people why they should click on you as opposed to the 9 other competitors who have also appeared in the search results. Now, what we see quite a lot, to be honest, is that even home pages of websites, it usually just has that person's brand name. But that doesn't mean anything in this case, unless that person already knows who you are, and if they do a branded search for you, you're more than likely going to show up first if it's your brand name. But what you should be aiming for is your other important keywords, not just for your homepage, but you need to have a unique meta description and meta title for every single page on your website. So what we always recommend is have the benefit, and then what we'd also recommend is put your branding at the end. The branding, even though you may be extremely important to you, it might be something that you're very, very proud of, the branding at this moment in time of a customer's journey doesn't mean anything. And I mean that with all due respect. So I'd always recommend have your feature or benefit first in your title and then have your branding at the end. Another little bonus tip here is that if you're trying to rank for a particular keyword and you have that in your meta description, and that's the keyword someone has actually done a search for, well, if it's in Google results, that word will actually show up as bold in the Google search results then, which helps you stand out even more in the search results. Now, every single website in the world has the ability to change these. If you're using the likes of WordPress, you can install a free plugin like Yoast, that's Y-O-A-S-T, and that allows you to actually change your meta title and your meta description without any coding knowledge whatsoever. And the final big mistake that we see in regards to people's SEO is that they don't focus on providing a good user experience. Now, user experience can fall under a lot of different categories, especially with the likes of Google. For example, that might mean something such as how fast your page loads. And if that is the case, well, that might mean, loading something such as your images faster, or doing what's known as lazy loading those images so they actually only load when that person begins to scroll your website. So it's not all trying to load at once, so the page overall loads faster. Something such as that. But it also means user experience not just for search engines like Google, but also for your actual human visitors. So you do really need to put yourself in the shoes of your particular ideal audience. If they were doing a search term that you wanted to appear for and they click on your website, you have to then imagine what did they want to see. So it might be a case of bullet lists of different things that you can do for them or solutions that you provide. If it's something such as a blog article where you're just kind of educating them, but they might want to see something such as this, like 10 things you should or shouldn't do in regards to X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be. But you really do need to put yourself in the shoes of your human visitors and optimize for that. We would always recommend optimize for humans first and search engines second. Always optimize for your human visitors first. So that brings us to an end of today's video, which was all about the 10 most common SEO mistakes that we see time and time again. So if you find that you're doing any of these mistakes, please do try and resolve them as quickly as possible, and you will be rewarded by different search engines such as Google. If you do have any questions or comments, or perhaps other common SEO mistakes that you might see if you're part of an SEO agency, please do leave any questions or comments below, as we do our very best to reply and respond to each and every one. But other than that, we'll end the video here. Hopefully you got a bit of value from this video, and we'll speak again soon. Bye.